Innocent victims murdered in the classroom that have been turned into a killing field. We stood at such a place just 12 days before, across from a grocery store in Buffalo, New York, memorializing 10 fellow Americans. For God's sake, how much more carnage are we willing to accept? How many more innocent American lives must be taken before we say enough, enough?
Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's iWoman Report. Many of us are feeling the pain from what happened in our country over this past couple of weeks. 2 shootings in this past month that has just left us feeling devastated, sad, distraught, and many of us don't know how to deal with these emotions. In the past 2 weeks, we've seen 2 instances of innocent lives lost to gun violence at the hands of 18-year-old young men bearing assault-style rifles. In Buffalo, you'll recall 10 people were shot and killed at a Top supermarket on May 14th. That gunman drove 200 miles to the predominantly black neighborhood and began live streaming the massacre on Twitch. It was later revealed that he previously posted about the white supremacist replacement theory, inciting the violence against this specific community. And of course, only 10 days later, on May 24th, 19 young children and 2 teachers were killed at the mass school shooting in Texas. This is the deadliest school shooting since Sandy Hook, which happened 10 years ago. The shooter recently turned 18 and was able to purchase 2 AR-15 style rifles and over 300 rounds of ammunition prior to the shooting. The long-standing disagreement surrounding gun control in the Senate has been further fueled by these 2 massacres. Senator Chris Murphy gave an impassioned speech to his colleagues on Wednesday, repeatedly asking, "What are we doing here?"
There are 14 kids dead in an elementary school in Texas right now. What are we doing? Why do you spend all this time running for the United States Senate? Why do you go through all the hassle of getting this job, of putting yourself in a position of authority, if your answer is that as this slaughter increases, as our kids run for their lives, we do nothing? What are we doing?
That same passion, helplessness, anger is being felt with many lawmakers across the country. During a press conference in Texas, Governor candidate Beto O'Rourke interrupted current Governor Greg Abbott to tell him he wasn't doing enough. O'Rourke was then escorted out.
Excuse me. Sit down. You're out of line and an embarrassment. Hey, sit down and don't play this stuff.
The next shooting is right now, and you are doing nothing.
No, you need to get out of here. This isn't the place to talk this over.
This is totally predictable when you...
Sir, you're out of line. Sir, you are out of line. Sir, you are out of line. Please leave this auditorium. I can't believe you're a sick son of a come to a deal like this to make a political issue.
And it is not just politicians who are reeling with rage and wondering what is it going to take to stop this. During a press conference, Golden State Warriors coach Steve Kerr expressed his concern and confusion, stating, "I'm not going to talk about basketball."
When are we going to do something? I'm tired. I'm so tired of getting up here and offering condolences to the devastated families that are out there. I'm so tired of I'm tired of the moments of silence. Enough.
Many other public figures and politicians have been speaking about their feelings toward gun control and their feelings of hopelessness. This does not happen in other countries. When Australia, the UK, New Zealand, and other countries experienced mass shootings, they changed gun policies so that it would not happen again, and it hasn't. We're just shy of 150 days in this calendar year, and so far, there have been 213 mass shootings. Sit with that for a minute. 213 mass shootings already this year. So how many people in movie theaters, grocery stores, churches, schools need to die before we say enough? What will it take? Stricter gun control? better safety procedures in schools, increased security, maybe one, maybe all of the above. But what is clear is that we're getting it wrong and something needs to change. And that brings me to my question of the day. Will increased armed security in and outside of schools prevent future massacres like what happened in Texas and Sandy Hook from happening? You can head to our Instagram story at iWomanTV to respond. And please leave your comments. I want us to talk about this. What will it take? Please leave your comments below. I, for one, hope I never have to report again on a mass shooting like what happened in Texas, or a war in Ukraine where women and children are dying, or a pandemic that's taking the lives of so many people. It's a lot. It's a lot for all of us to take in. And it's really important to know how to handle all of this. What do you say to your children? What do you tell yourself every day? How do we keep going in spite of all the tragedies that we're experiencing right now? Earlier today, I got a chance to speak with Kheperah Kearse to discuss some mental wellness tips to navigate all the events that are happening in our country. Kheperah is the Chief Wellness Officer at Life Camp Inc. and a nationally renowned practitioner who curates culturally adaptive healing and trauma response methodologies that are rooted in equity and racial justice. So Kheperah, thank you so much for coming on the iWoman Report today to talk with us about this horrific shooting that's taken place in Texas. I'm sure in your work with the people that you reach, the students as well as young adults and parents, you're probably getting an earful right now. But what do you say to people that are having a difficult time right now processing everything?
Thank you, Kathleen. I first want to just acknowledge all of the families that have been impacted. And because also the mass shooting in Buffalo was literally days before, I also want to acknowledge those families. Our entire country is hurting. And it's also vicarious trauma, the fact that we're watching it and witnessing these things in real time. What I would say to people is, first and foremost, you have every right to feel what you're feeling. People are being triggered from layers of unresolved pain, from things that have been addressed from 2020, and even beyond. And so the first thing is honor what you feel. For parents, I encourage you to respect your children's feelings and their voice when they say, I don't feel well. I don't want to go back to school. I'm afraid to go outside. I don't feel comfortable getting on the train. When we grew up, our moms would say, hey, unless you were bleeding to death, you're going to school. If you have a cold, but this is a different time. And we need to really be sensitive to our children and provide those spaces, those safe containers for them to express what they're feeling. A lot of unresolved issues lead to other traumas and behavioral imbalance. So that would be the first thing I'd say to parents. And also, in your home, wherever possible, hold space around the dinner table or even in the living room or even in the bedroom. Just find time to connect with your children. Let them know that they're loved. And if the children are young and they don't know what's going on, there's no need to introduce it. If you can, shield them from what's happening as much as possible because they don't need that in their precious minds. But for children who are aware of what's happening, who are watching social media, who are going to school, it's really important for parents. If you're that parent in the neighborhood that everyone likes to come to your home, invite those children and their parents to your home. Let your home be a space where you can have a healing circle. And it doesn't have to be fancy. It could be sitting around, maybe with something light to eat or drink and allowing people to express everything that they feel. So that would be the first thing. For parents among your peer group, talk about why you're angry. Talk about why you're afraid. There are so many parents now that are afraid to send their children to school or to leave work, to leave their children alone. So first thing, hold space, allow everyone to express. And then as we get into the healing, because we have to be able to find a way, even in this tragedy, to just take steps every day to move forward. And that can look like eating light. When you eat really heavy, you actually anchor yourself to a lot of the stress and emotions. So do your best to eat light, drink lots of water, eat lots of live food and life-giving food like fruits and vegetables, and do your best to try to stay away from heavy fried processed foods. because those things can actually trigger more emotions. Starch heats up the body and it can actually ignite more stress, and you can calcify the stress in your body and cause illness.
Everything that you're saying is so important. And I would not have even thought of addressing diet and fatty foods and fried foods and things in this conversation. But you're absolutely right, because not only what you as the mother or father or parent are taking in, but also what you're giving your children could actually exacerbate their stress levels. And I didn't actually know that. You mentioned earlier, if your children don't know about it, don't feel the urge to necessarily fill them in. I was talking to someone earlier today, and his children are fairly young, 4 and 7. I asked him how they're coping, and he said they don't know, and I don't want them to know. And I paused for a minute because my children are a little older. My youngest is 18, and so I'm waiting for her to bring it up. I know it's affecting her, but I don't want to add stress. But by the same token, as parents, your propensity is also to prepare your children that if something like this ever happens, I want you to be equipped with the knowledge of what to do. But is it better right now not to push that topic, just to let them come to you, or should you be opening up and talking to them about it?
That's a great question. So when I was talking about younger children, I'm talking about like preschoolers who are just so excited to be alive and have sippy cups and juice, and they aren't aware. For your children, I really love how you are giving them the space to come to you, but they might not. And they might think that you don't get it. They might hold against you, and not you specifically, Kathleen, but they might from previous experience think if I bring this up to my parent, they're going to give me a bunch of rules. They're not going to let me stay out late anymore. And so I don't even want to talk about it, because if they think I can't handle it, they're going to cut off my freedom. I think instead of talking about the issue, just go hold them. Just go be with them. Rekindle the relationship. Consider that perhaps they haven't come to you because maybe there's an aspect of the relationship that needs to be rekindled. Because there was a time when your child would come to you and tell you everything. So instead of putting the burden on them, maybe it's a time for some self-awareness to say, how can I just reconnect with my child? Because safety isn't always in words, it's in the doing and the being. Who can I be in my home that my children would just want to come to me? How about I just give them a hug? How about I just go and snuggle up or ask if they want to spend some time? How about if I say, I'm a little unnerved by what's going on. Can I hug you? Can I get a hug? Because they're also so used to parents having it all together. They figure you don't get it, you're fine. And that would allow them to open up. And perhaps by giving you some love and some comfort, they can then feel safe to say, oh, wow, I'm feeling it too.
Very, very, very good advice, and spoken, like the expert that you are, and a mother, and someone who cares deeply, about the people that you work with. Kheperah, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today, for dropping all of these dimes. People listening will want to no doubt follow you. How can they find you?
Currently, you can find me on @Kheperah. That's KHEPERAH. One more time, KHEPERAH, Kheperah. You can find me on Instagram. I have a lot of healing tools, a lot of wellness tips from Feel Good Fridays, Wellness Wednesdays, healing modalities. You can also go to Life Camp Inc. /wellness. lifecampinc.com/wellness. And there you'll also find some tools and tips on how to deal with stress, grief, trauma, and just how to balance the mind and body.
Just what the world needs right now. Thank you again so much. Best of luck to you. And I definitely want to leave the invitation open for you to come back anytime on the iWoman Report. Thank you so much, Kheperah. I can tell you you'll benefit greatly by following Kheperah online, on her Instagram or online. She's just such a warming and soothing person and therapist. So whether it's following Kheperah or whether it's finding someone locally that you can talk to if you're suffering from everything that's happening and you need to make sense of it, just find someone that you can talk to. We all need an outlet. And that brings me to my thought of the day. This is not the time to sit back and wait for change to happen. Innocent lives are being taken away because people are more worried about their right to bear arms than the safety and well-being of those in their community. Put pressure on your local leaders and policymakers in your state. Sign petitions, donate to organizations that are dedicated to putting an end to gun violence and creating better gun control laws. Just one day after the Sandy Hook shooting, Shannon Watts started a Facebook group calling for Americans to do more to reduce gun violence. The group grew, turning into Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. They then co-created Everytown for gun safety, along with Mayors Against Illegal Guns, to do just that. Everytown is now the largest gun violence prevention organization in the country. This was started by a passionate mom who saw that kids being slaughtered was too much and knew that she couldn't watch it happen over and over again. This is a uniquely American problem that must be changed, but it can only happen by banding together and putting pressure on those who we've put into office. Remember that. We have put them in office. Our voice is way more powerful than you think when we come together. And the truth is, regardless of what gun lobbyists may think, the majority of us, the majority of Americans support tougher gun legislation. Let's stand up and be heard. The lives of our children, your own life, depends on it. Thank you so much for joining us for this iWoman Report. Everyone, please stay healthy, stay happy, and stay safe. Thank you.